everyone, welcome back to the Sailing Uma.
He's like, I'm Danny. You'd be like, and I'm Kika. Not Kiki, not Tika, not Tiki, not Nika. Kika. We try our best to chalk it up to autocorrect because a lot of people are typing comments on their phones and autocorrect sucks.
I understand that Kika is not like a normal word that would normally be written with your keyboard. Diane and Susan.
Hi, I'm Diane.
And I'm Susan.
Welcome back to another Sailing Uma Brussels sprouts episode.
If you guys follow our adventure, then you guys may know that one of the biggest reasons why we got our boat for such a good deal is because she came with a non-working diesel engine. And so rather than see it as a downfall and a deal breaker, we decided to experiment with something completely different. We decided to go 100% electric.
Yeah, the previous motor had been winterized improperly and had seized up by the time that we put an offer in on the boat. So like Kika said, we got a super good deal on this boat. Most boats this old with a non-working diesel just get scrapped. But we took that opportunity to rip out the old tractor motor and decided to go more along the lines of electric golf cart. We found a large enough motor on eBay for about $100. It was a used forklift motor. And then we salvaged the rest of the parts we needed from boats being scrapped from hurricane damage or used golf cart like repair shops, because all of it's 48 volts, so all of it's basic golf cart components. And most of them were relatively cheap and a lot of them were free. And
that's how the electric bike was born. The Frankenstein of electric motors.
Frankenstein electric motors. It took a long time and a lot of work and a lot of research to try to figure out how to get that thing to spin for the first time.
Yeah.
Going through the key switch, main contactor to the controller, to the armature of the motor, and then this is a 12-volt battery that's controlling the field of our motor, and that's connected to a contactor down here that's connected to the throttle. So when the throttle's activated, it activates 12 volts to the field, and when all this is on, it puts 48 volts through the armature. So moment of truth. We're going to turn this on, we're going to activate the contactor, and throttle. It works!
Yeah.
And ever since then, we've been sort of modifying it and upgrading it and tweaking it to get more efficiency out of it. And make it a bit better.
Back in Curacao, we went from using the transmission to going direct drive. And then about a year later, we went from using our 4 lead acid Walmart batteries to 12 lithium ion batteries, which now meant that the motor was now the weakest link in our system.
Yeah, so the motor that we got at the beginning for $100 was a CPEX motor, which meant that there's 2 electromagnets, one on the outside, one on the inside. Which meant that getting regen from it was really difficult because it was taking power to make power since there was no permanent magnets in it. And it also was undersized for our needs. So now that we had upgraded our battery bank, the motor would actually overheat before our batteries would die. We've always been looking for an upgrade to our electric motor, knowing that like the system we built back at the beginning was very basic and very much based on our budget at the time and just sort of learning and adapting as we went.
And it works. I mean,
it worked fine.
It works fine.
We had it for 5 years and sailed almost 20,000 miles with it.
There was never any maintenance to be done aside from the batteries and the upgrades that we did.
Yeah.
Nothing ever broke to the motor itself, and it just worked. There was no smell, there was no sound, there was no vibration like the diesel motors usually have.
It just worked.
It just works. But it was time to find a way to upgrade it the way that we wanted to upgrade it.
Because for us, having regen, having a hydro generator, getting that power while we're out sailing was the primary reason that we wanted an electric motor in the first place. Just sort of having an unlimited supply of electricity while we were offshore.
Yeah.
And so since our motor wasn't capable of that, we've always been looking for an upgrade and trying to plan out what our next big move was going to be, which inevitably would mean switching out our CPEX motor to probably a brushless DC or a brushless AC motor, one that has permanent magnets, one that could generate power while we're offshore.
It's kind of like the entire point
Yeah.
for us to be cruising with the electric motor. And I think it's different if you're sailing as a day sailor or as
Yeah.
a racer and then you coming back to a port every
We
now
can
and
plug
then.
into the marina. Yeah, totally different.
Yes, but living on a boat and trying to live independently from shore, aside from groceries maybe, 100% means you need to be able to regenerate your own power.
Well,
so,
and surprisingly, so there's probably, I'm going to say a dozen companies out there building electric motor kits or electric motors for boats now. Maybe more, but there's probably between 6 and a dozen that are sort of dedicated to it. And the majority of them, including new ones that are under research and development now, aren't focusing on regen. They're just focusing on getting an electric motor to spin a propeller, which to me, it kind of defeats the whole point of having an electric motor. Like regen is like the whole reason you would have one. So you can motor out of your slip for 20 minutes or an hour or something to get offshore, sail all day, charge your battery bank back up, and then be able to motor back in again. So there's very few companies that have sort of decided to focus on the regen side. And there's one that stands out in particular, which if you've been following us along, you probably know which one we're talking about.
we've talked about it quite a lot, actually.
Anytime we get asked like what the best one is, we always say Ocean Volt because they're the only one that's sort of dedicated and focusing on the regen side of it as well as an efficient motor to push your boat forward.
Yeah. But it's also the most expensive system.
Of course, they're the most high-end, top-notch, integrated, designed system, and therefore they come with that price tag as well.
But that's the thing though, like that's what differentiate the top industry, the top brands with the normal golf cart motor
Right.
is the coding and the information and the background
And the integration. Yeah.
that goes along with it.
It's like comparing a golf cart to a Tesla. Both have electric motors, both have batteries, both have a steering wheel and a throttle, both push a four-wheeled vehicle forwards, but night and day difference. And obviously a Tesla costs a lot more than a golf cart.
Yeah.
But the other problem is Teslas run at 300 volts DC or something like that, and the
Yeah.
motors weigh 200 pounds. Like, it's just impractical to put one of those into a sailboat. Because 300 volts DC is absolutely deadly if you get that wrong. 48 volt DC, like golf carts, it'll make some sparks, but you're not going to kill yourself with 48 volt DC.
So the Ocean Volt motor was in our wouldn't it be nice list, you know, if we win the lottery
Someday when we have like 20 grand lying around and we can just buy one.
Right. So yeah, and we were still obviously like when you know you want something, you always put it in a back burner of your mind, but not making that big a block to
Right.
your journey.
Yeah,
so,
not letting it stop you.
No. So even though we couldn't afford the Ocean Volt motor, we were going to still do as many upgrades as we could to our own motor, try to get as efficient as we can and try to liquid cool it as much as we can.
Yeah, we actually, back at the very beginning, when we started looking into electric motors, we reached out to, there was probably only 5 or so companies back then, and we reached out to all of them and asked them like for their opinion, their quotes, if they could help us figure out what we needed. And we actually got a quote from Ocean Volt back at the beginning and almost cried when we read the price tag at the bottom because you could buy a new car for the same price. But there was sort of a reason for that. They included the batteries, they included the charging system, they included all the electrics, all of the integrated systems, and the electric motor, and the propeller, and the sail drive. Like, there's a lot of components, and they do all add up to a pretty hefty price tag. But we sort of saw that more like a shopping list than a single purchase. And over the last 5 years, we've been slowly figuring out how to get everything else other than just the motor. So the batteries and the chargers and the solar panels and the systems integrations and the CAN bus systems and everything that we could that would also work with our Electrobeak motor. And now that our whole system is upgraded, we were looking at getting a new motor anyway, a brushless DC, liquid cooled, maybe shaft drive, maybe sail drive. And as it turns out, right around the time we were getting ready to make that purchase, someone reached out to us and said, hey,
I've got one.
I've got a used Ocean Volt sail drive, and if you guys want it, it's yours.
Which is very unheard of
It
because
just doesn't happen.
a good electric motor lasts
Yeah.
almost forever. Like, so you don't really find used electric
No.
motors out of research and determination on our end, and maybe like a slight side of sheer luck.
Maybe a lot of sheer luck, I think.
Yeah, we've got the opportunity to get our hands on a used one, and
Right.
that person had 4 motors in his top secret catamaran, and he realized that he only really needed 2. So he
They're
was
very powerful motors.
yeah, super powerful. He had way more than he needed, so he was happy to send one of them to our new home.
So today, after about a month of waiting, the motor's arriving in a crate,
Yep.
and we are going to get started with all of the renovations and refit that we need to do to convert our golf cart into a Tesla.
Pretty much. We're also going to do as much work as we can in the water
Mm-hmm.
before we haul out, because
Finding space on the hard here in Plymouth in the spring is actually very difficult, which we've found out recently, because everyone, now that the sun is shining, is coming down and trying to get their boats ready and trying to get in the water and do their bottom jobs and haul out, and everyone on the hard is trying to go in and not many people in the water trying to get out. And so we might only get a weekend to to switch from a shaft drive to a sail drive, which means it's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah.
But we're going to try to get as much of it done as possible in the water and try to eliminate as many variables and things that can go wrong once we haul out, so that once we do haul out, we kind of know exactly what we need to do, the timeline we need to do it in, and be out of the water for a very, very short amount of time. So, first things first, it's time to remove our trusty, faithful Electrobeak. Oh, look, an electric motor. I'm gonna be living in there for the next 3 days. Literally. There we go. There she is. Still like smooth as the day she was born. This thing served us well for 5 years, but I'm pretty excited to put the new one in. Liquid cooling, more range, regen, all the good things. But not to worry, our Electrobeak is going to a good home. We have somebody up in Southampton, one of our patrons actually, who is converting their boat to electric. And we're donating this one, since all they really need to do is get off their slip, because they just want a day sail in Solent. So it's going to be perfect for them, and it's going to have a good second home, or third home at this point, I guess. Now the real fun begins. I've got to grind out the motor mounts that I built down in Curacao 3 years ago, and I built them super tough, so it's going to be fun to try to get those back out. I hate having to remove stuff I've already built. Mostly just because I know how much of a pain in the ass it's going to be. This thing works great. This thing works great, but fiberglass chews through the blades really quick. Alright, I just finished grinding out the new engine pan. And I'm about to glass in this ring. This is for mounting in the new motor flange. it has this aluminum piece countersunk down into it. That's what you drill and tap to bolt the whole thing down to. So now I'm just gonna sort of contour and fit and shape and make sure this is level and centered in the boat so that I can glass it in tonight. And should be pretty straightforward. It's a sort of pre-assembled thing. It's a lot easier than last time, and it's just a simple circle, so it shouldn't be too hard to cut this down and make sure it's level. It's pretty comfy in here. It's like air conditioned because it's underwater. Oh, the amount of hours I've spent crawled in this little spot, hey?
I know. Should just put like a mattress there and be done with it.
Should just call this the captain's quarters. I just finished shaping the mounting bed to the contour of the hull. Because it's a sail drive, the depth between the bottom of the motor and the top of the prop is quite important. So I had to get it as low to the hull as possible. And now I'm gonna mix up some fairing filler and kind of goo it in place before glassing it over.
Yeah?
Right. How many times have I been in there fiberglassing, huh? Well, that's done. It's like 10:30 at night or something like that, but let that cure overnight. Looks pretty good though. I can't believe I did all that in a day. Rip out the old one, clean it up, get covered in fiberglass again, and then install a new one. Oh, I'm tired. We're gonna go shower now.
Yeah, I bet you're tired.
This morning I just finished installing the motor controller and wiring it as much as I can while we're in the water. But we're gonna head over to Force 4 this morning because it's sunny, and we're gonna pick up the last couple of things we need for our haul out. Oh boy. You know, just taking my 10 liters of bottom paint for a walk. It's heavy stuff. How are you doing over there?
I'm just carrying the rest of this stuff.
Today we are hauling out. We already took out the old motor and we don't have the new one installed. So we are doing this again.
We're gonna side tie and push with the dinghy again. I think the last time we did this was going up to Rio in Guatemala, what, 3 years ago? But it's a very effective way to move a boat actually, and especially we've got a different rib and a bigger outboard. It should go pretty smoothly. We've got pretty strong winds today, but they're coming from behind us, so it should be good. We're just going around the corner so we can haul out and finish installing the new motor. I'm excited. Hopefully this is the last time we're gonna side tie and push with the dinghy. Knock on some wood there.
But given the situation, it's actually a really, really effective system.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to push the boat faster because
Much bigger
it's a bigger outboard.
Last time we did this was with a 5-horse.
Yeah.
Now we've got a 15. We should be able to go like 5.5 knots or something probably.
Cool. All right, we're just waiting for the guys at the marina to help us untie the lines and push us through the lock. And we're out of here.
What do you think is going to be best? Like for dock line off the bow and kind of pull, or just kind of be on reserve if we need you?
I think we should strap yours to the stern, yeah, and I'll push the bow because the wind on the corners are really
Right,
strong.
yeah.
So if I keep on this side, on your starboard side.
Sure, just in front of ours?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I
want to just work it all the way through, and then we'll tie up port side to the lock.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I think when we go out, the wind's going to blow the bow round, so we go as far out as we can, yeah?
Yeah.
Expect some wind when we clear the tip here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, perfect.
Cheers.
Cheers!
And away we go. Well, it turns out it's a really windy, gusty day today. So we got the guys from Mayflower to come out and help tow us into the slings. I'm super happy with this bottom paint. There's like, it's just slime. A little bit of sailing would have taken that off. And it's been a year and a half, I think, since we put it on. She looks really good. The bottom paint's held up really, really well. We're pretty happy with it. So we're probably just gonna do a scuff sand and put another 2 coats on while we're out of the water. We got the whole week here, so we've got plenty of time and it should be a nice, beautiful week.
It was a tight fit though.
It was a little sketchy. Very windy today. We should have done this yesterday. We've got like 25 to 30 knot gusts coming in, so.
Yeah, but it should be a really good week to
Yeah.
look at the boat, so.
It's gonna be sunny all week, so we got work to do.
Well, our baby girl is safely on the stands and she is ready for some good old dry time. We have so much to do this week. It's gonna be
I'm tired just thinking about it.
It's gonna be a long week. We have so many good projects to do in such a little amount of time. But I think first we need a beer. Thank you.
I think it's time to celebrate successfully making it onto the hard. A little bit nerve-wracking with the wind and getting the boat over here without an engine and hauling out, and by the time they set it down and nothing goes wrong, it's worth celebrating.
Yeah,
so,
it's so windy.
very windy this weekend. We picked like the
Goodness.
worst weekend to try to motor over here with the dinghy. It's like blowing 30 knots.
But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and we'll see you guys next time as we tackle a pretty big project.
We're excited. Cheers.
Cheers.